Hey guys, welcome back to the Drone Camps channel, and today I have an economically priced set of goggles on the bench. These are from Beerotor. They are called the BV1s, and they're super ultra light goggles. They weigh in at 230 grams, and they're economically priced around the $100 range versus something like the Fat Shark Dominator V2s there. Those are $550. So if you're just getting into this and you just want to have a taste of FPV and what it's like, these are a good pair to go for. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. And versus the Headplay SEs, they have a lot of similar options, but this one doesn't come along with a DVR like the Headplay SEs did, my pair did. But you can add a DVR on the outside of these. It does have an audio video in and out port right here, and right next to the DC port for your powering of these goggles. But coolest thing is that you do have that option, and you have the option of having two antennas on here, which is great. And so far these are some of the ones that I've seen with the most features. So let's go ahead and talk about these features and show you a little roundabout around the goggles and some of the features on the external, and then we'll go inside, and then we'll talk about some of the internal features like the menus and some of the VTX settings that are included with the BV1s. So here we go, sitting next to the Headplay SEs. They're quite a bit smaller. The profile is way smaller than the Headplay SEs. 7-inch screen in here, and this is a 5-inch screen. Now, some people have complained that the 7-inch screen was too big for them and it made them a little bit dizzy, and I understand that. Maybe there's just too big of a screen and too much going on. So depending on how much vertigo you get when you fly FPV, some people have to sit down, other people can stand up. It all depends on you and the way you feel when you look at the screen when things are moving, if you get motion sick or not. Some people do prefer a little smaller screen so it doesn't give them that totally immersive feeling. The Headplay SEs are going to give you that really immersive feeling. So depending on what you're looking for, 5-inch screen is pretty standard out there. So you don't have to have a 7-inch screen. You don't have to go all the way out to 7 inches. But these also have diversity on here. As you can see, we have this nice flat panel antenna here, and we have that standard right-hand circular polarized antenna on the left side, also known as a clover leaf. And on this one, we only have one right-hand circular polarized antenna, also a clover leaf. So one antenna and two gives you better penetration out in the field behind trees and bushes and things. So if you're new to this, this is going to get you a more solid signal for this particular setup. And if you guys want to add your own DVR externally on these, this is the port right here for the video in. This cable just plugs right in, and you can do video in or it does video out. So if you want to run this one out, RCA cable out to your external DVR, you can do that and you can record your videos just like that. Now you have a couple options for powering these, and you can do it one of two ways. They give you two options here. You have this little converter right here, and it converts it over to an XT60 battery, which a lot of us use, which is really nice because I have this 3S 2200 here, and they say that you should run these 2 to 3S. They are actually running from 7 to 23 volts, and if you want to do just a JST 2S to 3S, you can also use a JST connector style battery. So you have two options on these, which is pretty cool that they give us that option, and these just plug in here. You'll have an extra long cable, but it's also kind of nice if you want to have the battery away from your head while you're flying. They don't have a place for the battery specifically to fit here unless you're able to just maybe zip tie it off to one of these straps on the side. Something like that would work, but you know, for an economic price, not too bad for power options. So a little closer look now, and the button setup on these BV1s are actually pretty nice and pretty simple layout here. We have a menu button here. If you press this several times, it'll take you through AV1 and other sources for your video inputs. You can also use the search button here. If you press and hold on that, it'll actually do an auto search, which is super nice. Most of us want auto search. We don't want to have to scroll through all the different bands by doing it manually on this side. This one changes channel, and this one also changes band. If you press and hold down that, it'll actually go through the bands, and you can change bands quite easily. Over here we have video in and out. It just says in there, but it's actually video out as well. So this is where you'll run your external DVR out to your RCA cable for your video out. Over here on this side is where your DC port plugs in for your battery. So that's how you're going to power your goggles right there, just coming out the side, just like that. So here you guys are looking at an internal view of the goggles, what it looks like when you're staring at this screen. And unlike the headplay SEs, it's not an overwhelmingly large screen. Maybe it feels like you're looking at something like a 40-inch flat screen TV, but the image resolution on these seem to be pretty good. I'm looking at the image resolution at 800 by 480 pixels, it says in the manual here. So the lines of resolution look decent even on a 600 TVL camera. I've got my baby hawk sitting over here on the bench, and that's what you're looking at right now, that live feed. And it looks pretty decent, even though I'm using a micro camera here. It's not anything fancy like a Runcam Swift 2 or anything like that. So I'm pretty happy with the resolution and the way these look. Now up at the top left, you see that green writing up there at the top left. That gives you some different information. It tells you how strong your signal is coming to the goggles. It also lets me know that I'm using Diversity. I'm on that actual Diversity source. So that's nice. You can switch that on or off. And it also shows me channel information and also what band I'm on. Now let's go ahead and change the band. If we hold down the band button, it would actually sit there and change band. Now also on the screen there, it's in red. It actually tells you what channel you're on. So if someone at the field asks you to switch to a certain channel, say 5625, you can actually scroll down and get closer to that specific number that someone asked you to get to. So that's also nice if you're going to use these for racing. Also, the channel button is going to switch through channels 1 through 8 on that particular band. Pretty standard there. And that button's on the top right. And we'll get all the way back around. Whoops, I missed it, so I have to go all the way back around, back to the channel that we were on. And there we go. So now we'll go ahead and we'll go into the menu. Now when you guys are buying a pair of goggles, it's pretty important. My best advice to you is find a pair of goggles that has a really simple interface to go into the menu and change settings, because if you have something very complex where you have to do a series of buttons or select this switch and move this switch to do this and do that, sometimes we forget how to do things on the goggles out in the field, and you have to open up your phone and find the manual on your goggles and figure out how to get to your internal DVR, things like that. With the Fat Sharks, you have to flip a switch, and a friend of mine recently this weekend actually forgot how to get to his internal DVR, and it does happen. So I like to have a very simple menu setup if possible on my goggles so that I can remember how to access things. Now pretty simple on these, you just press menu once, hold it down for a second, and press it again to scroll down the menu and make a selection. If you're highlighted on something, press band up or down and it changes your setting for, depending on the brightness you want. If you press channel, it'll go down, and if you press band, it will go up. So the right hand side of the goggles, those two buttons are what you use to go up and down. Now if you want to go down to the next one to contrast, you press menu again once you've made that selection, and now you can turn the contrast up and down. I'm going to press menu again. See, the menu actually does disappear off the screen if you leave it for a second or two. So it's kind of quick that it goes off the screen, which is kind of a bummer. I'd kind of like it to stay up for maybe like a 5 to 10 second delay, and don't really see anything in there to change that, but kind of quick Beerotor, but it is good because you can get back to flying. So we're going to go ahead down now. We can go to color, we can change the sharpness. I like to back mine off a little bit, and now I can also change the volume. I'm just going to turn the volume all the way down because I don't like to hear static on mine. And I can also change the language. We can also change the zoom, the aspect ratio. It's 16:9 here. I can change it to 4:3 like that, or I can go back to 16:9. I like that widescreen, so I'm going to leave that. And now I can go to the exit option here, and I can get back out of this menu. So now I'm on the brightness again. Whoops. We go back down to exit, and now we're out of the menus. So let's just talk about some final thoughts about the BV1s. Are they worth it? I think so. If you're just getting into this and you want some goggles that are pretty affordable with dual diversity on here, and the option to add an external DVR is also pretty cool. And another note about these goggles is the screen actually looks pretty decent on here, and the foam that surrounds the faceplate is actually coated foam. It's not foam like on the Fat Sharks that's just sitting out in the open that can get damaged over time, and we eventually have to replace these from time to time. Same thing with the head Play SEs, this foam is actually just hanging out and not coated with any kind of fabric. So this little fabric coating over top of the foam is actually pretty cool because it's going to give your foam a lot longer lifespan. It's not going to just start chipping off and fraying everywhere. So they will last you quite a bit longer. I don't know if these are replaceable, but I'm pretty sure you could just take this off and put a new piece of foam on here. Now the other nice thing about these is the fact that if I'm running a 3S2200, I'm getting 7 hours of video time on my goggles out in the field for one 3S2200. That's pretty good. And these are about $10 a piece if you get the Hobby King Turnigy one. You don't have to have a high seed rating for something to run goggles, so don't worry about that. A 30C battery is totally fine to run goggles on. You don't need anything super high performance. And what I also like is the fact that they do have dual antennas on here. You have a patch antenna and your right-hand circular polarized. That's super cool. We also have the option to use this cable for an external DVR if you want to go video out and start recording your videos with these. You do have that option because that external DVR these days they're actually pretty cheap. They're anywhere from $20 to $30. I'll try to put a link down below for you guys for those, but check out Beerotor. They have some pretty cool stuff. I think you can check them out on beerotor.com. Check out these goggles and some of the other accessories that you can get with it. And as always, guys, thanks for watching the channel. I had a lot of fun with this one. I think these are pretty cool. I'm Justin Davis, and I will see you on the next one.